How has election campaigning been for you?
Well, we are starting. You will remember that once the date is announced, now it sounds like a crunch time. So you try to close as much space as possible, cover the country, and also deal with logistics. You must finalize everything, minute detail of it, the advert, the postering, the billboards, and all of that. So it's balancing both the mass work and marketing work of the organization. But so far we're doing well. And remember that now, once a date is announced, you have to now submit names by the 8th of March. So you have to sit down, go through each and every name. When you are done with it, then send them to the lawyers to check if they don't have criminal records, because you don't want to embarrass yourself. So you have to balance the ground and the office work, because you might do the ground. When you wake up on the 9th of March, you don't have candidates and therefore you are disqualified. And you have to now raise 750,000 to register. Because I always hear people saying there are 300 political parties. It's easy to do that part, but contesting elections requires 750,000 now. And it's not an easy amount of money to raise. So, yeah, that's what we were dealing with now.
I was actually going to get into the issue around funding for political campaigning and for political parties, but let's get into it now.
Yeah.
Funders rather, have been a huge topic in these elections. We've seen the rise of so many political parties. These political parties seemingly having these coffers or deep pockets. What do you make of the influence of funders in these elections, and are you at all concerned about how deeply they will enroot themselves in the decision making going forward?
Well, the biggest problem is the Oppenheimers. They have seen that the political landscape is changing and it's not changing to their favor, and they decided to fragment black vote and create as many black political parties as possible. When Rise Mzansi comes on board, it has got no record, no evidence of it having any constituency. You give it 15 million based on what? You're giving it because you are forming it. It's not financing, it's forming a political party. You do the same with Shiluba, you do the same Action SA, you do the same with that stock fellow of Musimaimani, what. And then you fund all of them, because this black vote must be paralyzed, such that if the black parties like the ANC, PAC, ATM come together, they will not succeed. The Oppenheimers are the creators of the political system here in South Africa. They were the political players themselves. They used to be in parliament, and they established parliament and established this system. So they've always wanted to be in control of the system. So now that they are losing control of the political system in South Africa, they created this thing of political party funding, knowing that they will take out the money and give to whoever they want to give, and there won't be consequences. But if a person comes and gives the EFF money, you are guaranteed that every institution in the country is going to be mobilized against that individual. And in that way, you suppress democracy, and then you dictate through using your own money as to which parties must be supported. And that undermines the will of the people, because the will of the people can't be based on the size of the pocket of an individual. It must be based on what are these individuals offering to our society. And as far as I'm concerned, our biggest problem is the Oppenheimers. You have the daughter, the granddaughter, you've got the guy himself, individually financing these political parties with huge amounts of money. And they appear like they are individual monies. They're not individual monies. All of them put together are the Oppenheimer family money, because they've created themselves as a holy family in this country, which is untouchable. They can finance whoever they want to finance. They can do whatever they want to do. It's done. There's no political party funding. There's no one. If the Oppenheimers were really supporting multi-party democracy, there is a multi-party fund by the IEC. Why are they not taking this money that they have and put in the IEC account and the IEC to distribute that money equally to the political parties. They will not do it because it doesn't serve their agenda. And therefore, to say they are funding Rise Mzansi, they are funding Action SA is support of democracy is not true. The support of democracy would have meant multi-party democracy fund by the IEC. Now, in the absence of that, there's nothing you can do. Why, if they are funders, why are they not putting money in the multi-party democracy fund? If indeed there is a political party funding by big corporate in South Africa, by individuals, let them not give the EFF, let them not give the ANC. The neutral body is the IEC. Why are they not putting money there so that the IEC can equally distribute to all the role players? They will not do it because it doesn't serve their agenda, which is to capture and continue to capture the political system in South Africa.
Now, you have talked about, I think, time immemorial, you've talked about white capitalists and their agenda. Now you're talking about the agenda in terms of fragmenting the black vote. You've talked about white capitalists in terms of their influence in the ANC, particularly with President Cyril Ramaphosa. When you're going into those coalition discussions, because whether we like it or not, there is a suggestion that we're going towards coalitions. When you're going towards those coalition discussions, I want to know, Mr. Malema, in terms of your cardinal pillars, your 7 cardinal pillars, do you have those that you can negotiate around? Are there deal breakers when you're going into those coalitions?
Well, our 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars, let's take the ANC, for instance. The ANC doesn't disagree with those 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars. They are amenable. Actually, the conference that elected Ramaphosa had resolved on those cardinal pillars, but elected the wrong leadership. Unlike in 1949, when the Youth League influenced the ANC conference, then elected OR and Walter Sisulu and them into the leadership of the ANC and radicalized the ANC. This was not the case this time around. They elected a wrong person who has been in the agenda of the Oppenheimers from the 70s. Cyril was part of the urban foundation of the Oppenheimers from that time. Cyril founded the NUM, funded by the Oppenheimers at that time, infiltrated the reception committee of Nelson Mandela, then diverted Mandela from the original agenda. So that is the issue we're dealing with here. On the non-negotiable cardinal pillars, we're at one. There's no way the ANC can disagree with expropriation of land without compensation. Advocate Ngai Toby makes a point that Section 25 allows expropriation of land without compensation. If it does, why do you oppose? If indeed you are honest in that analysis, why do you oppose making it explicit? This is the entrance. We're going to enter here. I want to put a board that says entrance. Why do you have a problem with that? So that is very clear. No one must ask where is the entrance. It's explicit, it's clear. They know that Section 25 doesn't allow it. And that's why they are refusing to make it explicit in the Constitution. So we are confident that we will find ourselves with a majority of parties. I mean, imagine ATM is on board, is agreeing. The PAC is on board, is agreeing. The MKP is also agreeing with this kind of a proposal. And we don't see why the ANC will have a fundamental problem with that. Our problem is the DA, which said we are enemy, number one, unprovoked. And it was not them. It was the Oppenheimers who said the EFF is passing you, it's going to become number 2, and if they combine their votes with the ANC, they will not need anyone, and it's a dangerous scenario. Let's not go there. So then we were declared enemy number 1 by the DA. Having been declared enemy number 1, it doesn't mean from our side that we can't talk to the DA. Because the most ideal situation would have been for the opposition parties to come together to put to an end 30 years of corruption that has been in this government unpunished. And unemployment, homelessness, landlessness, and all those social ills that was subjected to, the high levels of crime in South Africa. So everybody should be saying, guys, let's come together as a matter of principle and remove the ANC and see if there won't be a new role players who can take our country to a different level. But the DA, which is now the leader of the official opposition, he says it can't talk to the third largest political party. By that, they are actually giving the ANC leverage now to continue leading.
So in essence, there is no negotiations around your cardinal pillars, because you are saying that the ANC already, those pillars exist within the ANC. Now, this begs the question then, if the ANC is not willing to budge on matters such as land, for instance, which you feel very strongly about?
Our cardinal pillars are non-negotiable. They are written in the, not in this manifesto, in the founding manifesto of the EFF, not in the election manifesto. So even if we are so willing, it can't be correct that for convenience we want to abandon that which constitute the fundamental core of the foundation of the EFF for political expediency. It won't be correct.
You're willing to stay in opposition benches in terms of going into this election. You're willing to stay in opposition benches and uphold ethically your beliefs as the EFF, ideologically your beliefs as the EFF.
Well, we are in the opposition benches now, and that's what we know best. And if it will happen beyond May, it will not be something new. It will be something we are used to. And one thing that is going to boost us is that this time around won't be the third, will be the official opposition in parliament. And that's what happens when a ruling party is there and there is an official opposition. From time to time, the ruling party lean towards the opposition in an attempt to disempower it and neutralize it. And we think that if we occupy that position, even when we're not in government, we stand a good chance to influence policy. Because if you look at DA now, for some reason and somehow they influence what direction we need to take. I mean, we just fired a judge for crashing his own car off duty. And we said, no, this judge must be impeached because the DA said so. We fired Kloppe because the DA said fired Kloppe. What did Kloppe say? He said to those guys, the country's future now is in your hands. We are relying on you guys. That was a problem, which is what they do every day. As judges, when they meet in a tea room, they ask each other, which case are you dealing with? Which? Oh, okay, good luck. Hey, that one is a difficult one. They go separate ways. It's not a meeting where instruction is given, exchange of money. Someone says something, then that becomes, we don't agree that he should have said the things he said. But when we were interviewing the current Chief Justice, we asked Judge Situlwane if this is unusual. He said, no, in the Supreme Court of Appeal, they always say to us, no, but we think you can take this way or that way. So we say, oh, their influence. He says, no, the final decision rests with me. People can talk what they want to talk. I take the final decision. J.P. Mulambo said the same, that, no, we talk. Well, I mean, talking means nothing. At the end of the day, the judge is going to sit alone and make that decision. But the DA said, this one, we don't want. They dismiss. Mukweban, we don't want. They dismiss. So those are the good chances of being an official opposition, because the ruling party somehow, in an attempt to neutralize you and disempower you, come to adopt some of your stance because they don't want you to have a leg to stand on.
You speak about corruption of the ANC. Mm-hmm. You speak about the current president of the ANC and his proximity, like I said.
Yes.
Are you willing to go into a coalition with the ANC under the current leadership?
No, not Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa is going to be another breaking deal because of the things I just told you about him. If you go into a coalition with Ramaphosa, you are effectively allowing the perpetuation of the Holy Family to continue controlling the levers of power in South Africa, and we shouldn't allow that. at some point, the Oppenheimer's influence and hold to South Africa must be broken if we are to realize a true freedom. These are the people who went to exile, went to tell the ANC we are going to do away with apartheid, and when you come back into the country, you govern, it's business as usual, meaning you don't tamper with our business. Went to CODESA, we don't know what other issues they agreed on, but you can see by how these timers behave that there is something they agreed to, which is binding on them and makes it impossible for them to move. And all these guys who are presidents of South Africa, maybe to the exception of Jacob Zuma, somehow they find a way of having a close proximity and relationship with the Oppenheimer family.
So then it begs the question: then how do you get into these coalition negotiations? Because you
can't go to the negotiations without having an idea. These are our ideas. We're going in to tell them this is where we stand. We'll hear their position.
But you know very well that the ANC would not, at least when it comes to its president, would not. It can't be done that the ANC would, allow for you to dictate to them who should be leading its party because they need your votes.
No, that is being ahead of ourselves. What if the president himself says, if I'm a problem, let me go? Because the guy likes throwing his tantrums anyway. And he's got a resignation letter already. So all he needs to do in those negotiations is to update the date, and that's it. The man is gone. He's been gone long time ago. He needs something fundamental which will persuade him back to where his feelings are, which are expressed in the letter. And then he will leave. So we cannot say, no, we don't think the ANC can move on this matter. Once we move in, and depending on the election outcome, imagine you're talking to the ANC at 35, 30%. What's that? What is there to listen? They will have to listen to what other people are saying and do as they are told if they want to continue being role players in this government.
Mr. Malema, what does your internal poll suggest in terms of your own prospects in these elections?
Well, we're sitting at comfortably at more than 30%, and we have gone past the DA. And the good thing is
what informs that?
It's a research.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a research. I mean, apart from our internal polls, go and look at Ipsos research. And someone says, no, research has not always been correct and all of that. Ipsos has never missed the mark. Ipsos has always been precise, and you have to just go back to 2019, 2021, 2016, 2014. They got it wrong 2014 with the EFF, and they confessed that no one knew this kind of animal called EFF. So we were all like, we don't know how to go about it. So we're working very hard because we know that if we break Gauteng, we break KZN, make serious inroads in the Western Cape and Eastern Cape, the country is gone. The ANC needs 3 provinces to govern this country. It needs Gauteng, KZN, and Western Cape. Western Cape is already gone. They were left with 2 big provinces plus rural provinces. Once you break those, there's no way the ANC can get more than 50%. As we speak now, here in Gauteng, they are governing with 50.1%. And that was in 2019. In 2021, they were sitting at 45%. What gave them 2019 was Ekurhuleni. And Ekurhuleni now is gone. So Ekurhuleni is gone. The ANC is at 45%. The ANC has got no history of recovering votes. When it loses completely. It goes down, never comes back. We can give examples everywhere else. They can't claim we lost here and we recovered the ground. They will never recover the ground in Gauteng. You go to KZN. Without MKP, already the ANC was sitting at 20-something%. With the MKP now coming in strongly in KZN, the most likelihood is that the ANC may be sitting comfortably at 15%, if not 10% in KZN. And where will they get 51% in the country? So whatever they are doing now is just being in denial. Look, we go to Moses Mabhida. We bring people from KZN alone to fill up Moses Mabhida. and we do that without buses from outside. What does the ANC do? It brings everybody in South Africa to fill up Moses Mabhida. They even do an overflow, which was completely empty, which tells you that the ANC has lost its relevance. You were there, you will know. When we were there, we filled up 2 stadiums here in Johannesburg, Ellis Park and Johannesburg. Even in KZN, we filled up Moses Mabhida and Absa Stadium. We filled up the first rally after Polokwane. We went to East London. We filled up a stadium there and another one called Absa Stadium. They are just next to each other. That's how the ANC used to roll. And with the people of Eastern Cape alone, with the people of KZN alone, we learned this from them, that this thing is possible with the people from here alone. So why did you, Julius, bring people all over into the FNB when you were doing your 10th anniversary? It's because you are bringing the country, you need a bigger vein. You can't take the country to a small vein and then still claim KZN is ours, when you know very well that for you to close any negativity, you had to take people as far as Venda to go into Durban. And what do? The Venda people, when they arrive in Durban, they go to the beach, because that's an opportunity of a lifetime. So the ANC is scientifically and otherwise is out of the game, and it will have to humble itself and come and listen to what others are proposing.
I want to go back to my question when I interjected.
Yeah.
I apologize for that, but when I interjected and said what informed us, it was I wanted to know whether your research has seen that, for instance, the emergence of these smaller parties are eating away at the ANC or eating away at the IFP. But let me take it forward and say, what's your reaction to the trends in terms of the MK party? We've seen by-elections. Maybe it's not exactly what can give us a true insight of what's going to happen in the elections. But what is your reaction to MK party?
Well, there will be a player, in particular in KZN, but they're not a threat to the EFF. So let's take the by-elections you're talking about. If you look at those by-elections, you look at what the EFF got in the previous elections and what the EFF got now on the by-elections, you'll realize that the MK did not have any impact on the EFF. Then you go back to the ANC to check what the ANC got in 2021 and what the ANC got now with the presence of MKP. Then you realize that's where the MKP vote comes from. People have been moving from their organizations to join MKP. There's not been a single high-profile person to join MKP from the EFF, if it does have such an impact on the EFF. So we don't have any threat, none whatsoever, coming from MKP. We are cruising in a league of our own, and we have no competition. Our constituency is solid and focused, and is not threatened by this new development. The smaller parties are deliberately being mobilized because the DA has reached a cul-de-sac, and its voters is not going to increase its voters. So because it's losing black voters, let it consolidate the white vote. Let's form political parties that are black-led, which ultimately will come and join forces with the DA. So the vote for One SA, for Rise Mzansi, for Action SA, for Shiluba and all of that, it's a vote for DA. That's where they're trying to now gather that black vote they are losing in the DA and bring it through a back door. I mean, Herman, when he left, he called DA all sorts of names. All of a sudden, he's in bed with the DA, which is a clear indication of, and I'm happy they're not hiding it. They're saying they've got a moon shot. They're going to the moon with IFP and all of them. So it's not a secret that those people are working for, they're consolidating black vote for the DA. And the black vote that voted DA and now is no longer happy with the DA, it has never been an EFF vote.
Mr. Malema, we had speculated as the media around Mr. Jacob Zuma, and shortly before he had announced that he was endorsing the MK party, we speculated on whether he would join you Were there discussions with Mr. Zuma and yourself, or Mr. Zuma and any other leader in the EFF, in terms of him coming to the EFF and joining the EFF or endorsing the EFF?
No, I spoke to him. I had a discussion with President Zuma, and I said to him, I've never asked Winnie Mandela to join the EFF because it would have been unfair on me to ask Winnie to join the EFF, because all her life she knows ANC, and if she comes here, she's going to say Viva ANC in a EFF meeting, because that's her DNA. And I won't ask you to do that, because I know that's why he says I'm a member of the ANC, but I will support MKP, because that's how they are. Their DNA is ANC. So I said to him, that thing he did with MKP, I had asked him to do it with the EFF, that you don't have to be a member, you don't have to do anything. Endorse the EFF and say, this is the party of choice, and although I remain a member of the ANC, but I will be voting for this political party. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But because I'm not Shumana, I'm not scared to propose. So if you deny my proposal or refuse my proposal, it's okay.
You move right along.
I've made an attempt, and as I listen to the language spoken now by President Zuma, it might be this or that we don't agree with, but we're not far apart, and we're likely to converge beyond the elections. Our concentration now, correctly so, should be on gathering as many votes as possible.
I want to talk about the deputy president as a deployee in KZN.
Yes.
Some feel that the deputy president was not necessarily the right choice to go to KZN, given the environment in KZN, that we don't need to stress, but we do know, that maybe yourself and someone like Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, who's got a mass appeal, would have been the likely person to find space in KZN. And I think, given the reception he's been receiving in the KZN, he's been booed in some meetings. Was it the right choice, and do you think he's making inroads there?
Our deputy president has done an exceptionally good work in KZN, because we must first remember why we've sent him now. I mean, then he was not going to do necessarily the election work. He was going to stabilize the EFF. Remember, there was a serious turmoil after the PPA when Vusi was removed, and many others felt purged, and they felt like they're being pushed away from the movement. And then from time to time, and our deployee was the Secretary General, from time to time they will want to implicate the Secretary General. So we said, let's remove the Secretary General, then put the Deputy President to stabilize the organization and extend the invitation to those who are wounded to come back and be reintegrated back into the structures of the EFF. I think he has done that successfully. We're talking a packed stadium, because that product comes directly from a stable organization which he has managed to create. Now, we're moving the gear up. Is he the right person? Can we find someone else? Given developments of MKP and the dynamics around that, and the ANC's attitude towards KZN and the IFP thinking that this is a battleground, do we maintain the deputy president, or do we bring an alternative that will match what those people are doing? It's a discussion we're going to have between today and tomorrow, because today the officials are going to meet. Tomorrow then we'll have our CTF, and after CTF we'll have our CCT, and we'll look at CTF's work is to look at the election work, where we are weak, where we are strong, the last registration, and then the CCT will then look at the political aspect and implications of deployments of leaders into those issues. And when a decision is taken in that regard, we'll communicate. If there's no need to change, we'll equally communicate. But according to our manifesto, we've got phases. And this is a serious phase that needs all of us to be concentrating on the election work. And every time they say someone is coming to reinforce me, I will never be worried. Or if I'm being reassigned to go and do something else, or I'm told to continue doing what I'm doing, it's okay. You can mention Ndlozi correctly so, because remember we disbanded that province. Ndlozi was there to re-establish that province with Mamar Neil.
Yeah.
And then after that, the Secretary General moved in. And after that, the Deputy President moved in. And from time to time, we move each other like this. We've identified KZN and Gauteng as battlegrounds. That's why Ndlozi is here. And it will not be strategic to move him here. But we'll listen to the arguments that are advanced. And then we'll look at KZN, what are the reasons for the Deputy President to be moved. But to be honest, and I saw your tweet saying, I'm angry with KZN leadership because the stadium was not full or something to that extent.
We saw your response.
Yeah, so I was like, where does this come from? Because I left that place being the happiest man ever to have taken chances to go and break a new ground in the most difficult area. Even if I had received 20,000 people, I would have been the happiest. A party that has got a sitting president, sitting deputy president, former presidents, Mutlante, Mbeki, Zuma is left, 30 ministers, 8 premiers, MECs, deputy ministers, all of them combined could not fill up Mabida the same way I did. And then why would I not be happy? With no state resources, no one landed in our rally with a chopper of the police, because we do that on our own. And unlike COPE, we don't have a Dalai Lama behind us to say, yeah, no, you do this. No former president, no former minister, on our own. A province gives you such a product, and then you want to be angry. That is equal to being a spoiled brat. If I wanted to do what the ANC did, I would have brought KZN, bring Mpumalanga, bring Gauteng, bring Eastern Cape, not even the whole country. I would have filled even the overflow if I took the ANC approach. We didn't take that approach. We took the EFF approach of saying we break the new grounds and we do things that no one has done before. Who would have thought in this day and age that in Nongoma, the north of KZN, the EFF can have a deputy mayor in Nongoma. And because I've got a deputy mayor in Nongoma, I must be throwing my tantrums saying, no, you must be mayors. Why are you not being a 10-year-old political party beats a party with more than 100 years because of the level of commitment of those comrades of the EFF in KZN? Hardworking, disciplined, focused. What do they need? They need agitation. They need support. They need to be encouraged. You have declared that province as a special province. It can't be special province without more investment in resource being directed in KZN, including human resource.
I want to talk about Gauteng now in terms of, I'm going to conclude on politics and get to your manifesto as well as policy, but I want to talk about Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, the Premier of this province, and I think you have been quite vocal about your feelings around Nasispan as that project. If you come into Gauteng post 29th of May, what happens to those programs?
They will be there. Amapanya, they are there. Will professionalize them, because as they are partisan, taken from ANC structures, sent out to go and put ANC posters, and they are used as a mobile audience for the ANC leadership to appear like they've attracted numbers when they don't have numbers. So let's professionalize it. I mean, you look at from uniform to the levels of confidence in them, that there hasn't been much work done to inspire them and to empower them properly and to train them to drive cars. Because that thing of driving cars is not like me and you where we just drive to work. You are chasing highly trained criminals. They don't have that skill. So we need to professionalize that section and even arm them with the necessary equipment so that when criminals threaten them, they are able to respond fire by fire. Nazi Spani, we have to now move in there to create a thorough audit of where was this thing advertised, for how long, who got to apply, who got to be shortlisted, who was not shortlisted and why, and finally who got employed. Once that is done and we are satisfied, there is absolutely no problem with keeping those people and saying to them, your loyalty is to the government, not to the EFF, not to the ANC. Professionalize them and make sure they do the right thing. Those who are hired wrongly will unashamedly and unapologetically remove them from the system, because we are not going to continue the corruption of the ANC. When Panyaza Sufi was opening the legislature here, he went to take those people of Nancy Spani, Panya, and then peg them in a venue. And then when those people were listening to Panyaza, they realized, it's child time, because from home we work from this time to this. Now it's time to go. They just stood up and left the hall. The hall became empty because that audience didn't come there because it's convinced. It came there because it got told this is part of your duties, to follow the premier around and make the stadium look full. And we cannot have money of the state used to finance egos of individuals. They must learn to mobilize without using the state resources. We are doing the same. We're going to Dobsonville now. We're going there with no government resources, with the hard work and commitment of the ground forces of the EFF. And with that, you know that it doesn't matter what happens, we will not address empty chairs. Not because we abused any of your monies, no, but because we volunteered to make sure that we usher in economic freedom in our lifetime.
Mr. Malema, you've spoken about shrinking cabinet. I think it's contained in your manifesto. What does that look like? It's 30 now, cabinet ministers. You've said completely dissolve the deputy ministries. How many do you see cabinet ministers would you want to have ideally?
Well, we can have half of that.
Okay.
We can have half of that. Look at sports, arts and culture. That should be one thing as is. Why should there be a minister of technology and innovation and have a minister of higher education? So what does higher education do? Because higher education is necessarily research and innovation. So it can't be. So just creation of jobs because you are dispatching patronage, and that at the expense of South Africans. Why do you need deputy ministers? You know, there are deputy ministers that walk up to me and talk to me. As a leader of the EFF and a former president of the Youth League who has been involved with all of them for a very long time, when they leave after a small chat, I'll ask either whoever is next to me, who's this one now? Then they say it's a deputy minister of what? I'm like, I don't know them. Can you imagine the people in Umtata if they have anything to do with these deputy ministers? Why do we have premiers? This thing of separating Western Cape from us comes from, because you gave them an impression that there are some smaller nyana state somewhere. We need a unitary state. We don't need premiers. We don't West MECs for what? We don't need provincial legislatures. You know, in Limpopo, when they go to a legislature meeting, it's a Christmas because everybody gets to know, hey, the legislature is sitting. Because it doesn't sit It has got no business in sitting, and whether they are sitting or not sitting, they are getting paid every month. Why? Why do we need such a structure which is useless to pass which law, which we can't pass nationally and have it binding on all of us? Because there is no law that must bind in Limpopo and it's not binding in the Western Cape. Under one unitary state with this progressive constitution that we are all praising, why should we have separate laws for the same citizens and create an impression, no, these legislatures can pass provincial laws? No, we don't need that. Let's collapse all of this, have a small cabinet dedicated with men and women who are ready to lead us. You know, if we say to the ANC as we walk in, to say, we don't want Ramaphosa as a president, you can give us anyone, and they come with Naledi Pandor and say, yes, you are president, you agree without thinking twice. Or no, now you are talking. Because you need people like that. You need people like Naledi who are in the business of saving people. Not in the business of business, not in the business of enriching themselves or saving their egos. You can see Naledi goes and do her work. From there, she goes home. She's got no any other business to do with any other thing. So we need men and women like that. You can give her any assignment. She will execute it to the best of her ability. So we must never create an impression that for it to work, it has to be big. It can be very small. Look at how populated the office of the president is. It's huge. What are they doing? The man goes to Hammanskraal. People die of cholera. He goes to Hammanskraal to check what happened to the water. He even visits the Rooival to check who ate the money, how, where, and then he leaves. It's now almost a year after his visit. Nothing has happened there. And then you call him a president with a super presidency that does nothing. Because once the president goes in there, when he comes out, something must give. There must be an indication that the president was here. From such a, where you go back to your office and say, you, deputy minister, you are now going to work on that project. And you report directly to me on that project because this has embarrassed me as a president. He doesn't do anything of that sort. It's business as usual. Why do we need such a presidency? To do what? No one knows. What is not working? There is no water in South Africa. There's going to be a water shortage. Why is the president not taking water under him if he's such capable? But he takes intelligence into his office for what? For slush fund. He knows the money now is controlled by me and I don't have to account for it. But if it was indeed a president who's concerned about the bread and butter issues that affect South Africans on a daily basis, he would have looked at critical ministries and said, this one I want in my office. This health I want in my office because you are reporting directly to me. I'm actually a minister. You are assisting me with regard to these matters of a collapsed public health system. He doesn't do that. His interest is on something else there of wanting to eat the money of intelligence, SSA. Now, all of you ask yourselves questions. Where did the president get the dollars? The president controls the slush fund of the SSA, which has got foreign currencies. If you go into the slush fund of SSA, you'll find all the world currencies there. What if he took from there? When the SSA was under Matlobo, there was a report that came that there was a burglary and monies were lost in foreign currency. What if this money of Phala is one of those monies that were lost at SSA? So no one asks, we're all being shifted somewhere. Ramaphosa moves the office, SSA into his office with so much money. Boom! After that, Ramaphosa is found with foreign currency. And we don't ask ourselves as to, what if he took it from the state security? So the interest is somewhere else. And that's what I'm saying. Certain things are not needed. We can save a lot of money. Why do we, and it's again back to CODESA and the Oppenheimers, why do you keep Parliament in Cape Town? For what good reason? Because Parliament must be where the administration is. Can you imagine the convenience of ministers to come to Parliament, report and quickly rush to their offices, push some admin work and come back to report, including participating in the full sitting of Parliament? The ANC is going to need this, by the way. When they get 51% and then they appoint cabinet from amongst their 51%, they will always have to make sure that they've got the necessary numbers to come in, and that will mean ministers will have to stop their work and come to work in Parliament. Because if they are not in Parliament, we as an opposition can just come together and say we're going to the bathroom at the same time, and Parliament doesn't correct. So when the ANC now reaches that point where it needs ministers in the legislature, in Parliament, and needs ministers in their offices, how are they going to manage that? Because Parliament is in Cape Town, admin is in Pretoria. It is more convenient and saving more resources. How much money are we spending now on providing support for ministers in Cape Town and providing support for ministers and deputy ministers and president and deputy president in Pretoria? What a wasteful resource are we engaged in? Wasteful expenditure. So you ask yourself, okay, why can't these people of the ANC go and tell this person who is saying stay in Cape Town, oh, no, but this thing is not working for us? Let them go and pray there, because when Thandi Modise came as a speaker, first on the agenda was the relocation of Parliament. She was for it. She was pumping it. 6 months down the line, she changed tune. The right people told her, no, what are you saying now? Do you know about these minutes? The same thing with the current speaker. They were for relocation of Parliament. Down the line, it's a hot potato. Leave it. Why? For sure it is in the CODESA minutes that business as usual means the Parliament founded by my forefathers, Cecil John Rhodes and them, shall remain there. And no one is going to move Parliament there. Otherwise, you are undoing my great-grandfather's legacy. That's what we're and they signed to it because they were obsessed with getting into power and not concerned about what's going to happen in the future. Imagine, they say, where will you get the money to buy land and build Parliament? We don't buy land, we expropriate land. And because a land that is going to be used for public purpose and public interest, the court will give us a go-ahead. Then we sell that building. They will buy it, including these ones who are obsessed with their Cecil John Rhodes legacy. They will buy it to preserve that legacy. With that money, we'll come and build Parliament. The money is there. That property is worth a lot of money. And if sold, it can build another Parliament. When we come here, parliamentarians, ministers, president, all of that, perhaps maybe the president for security reasons and the deputy president. But the rest of us, we must be given housing subsidy like any other worker. Must not be given houses. Workers who are working is work. It's our profession. There must be a design for such housing bonds for members of Parliament that you can go and bond a house if you want. Or otherwise, you can go and rent a back room in Mamelodi.
Like everyone else.
Yeah, like everyone else. So why are we being forced into some crawl or the parliamentary village, dilapidated buildings that you guys insult us with about every day, thinking there's some luxury? There's nothing there. Someone is just eating money, saying there's maintenance, there's this. There's absolutely nothing. Scratch that, sell those parliamentary villages, redirect the money, subsidize parliamentarians the same way workers are subsidized. Someone was saying to me, why is Parliament choosing for me to go and stay there? What if I want to stay in Khayelitsha? Why is Parliament removing me from my people to put me where my constituency is not? We don't have that option because we're being told you are going to sleep here, otherwise you're wasting the resources of the state. But it's not of our choice. If this EFF choice, we will subsidize these people to go and choose accommodation of their choice.
Mr. Malema, I have a couple of questions that I have to deal with economy, but before I get to that, signals indicate, or at least the past elections indicate, that the DA is slowly going down in the Western Cape. Why is that not a factor for you? And also, just so I can crunch those questions in, also in terms of, you've said that President Cyril Ramaphosa is not someone that you will enter into negotiations with, go in coalitions. You previously said that you're willing to negotiate with Paul Mashatile. Has that changed now?
Well, it's the ANC's choice, it's their decision, what they want to do, if they agree with us, and will engage with whatever alternative they are bringing forward. We are concentrating in the Western Cape. Our Secretary General is deployed in the Western Cape, and Western Cape is one of our biggest feeder now. For the first time, and I think you forgot that, that's why you're saying we're not concentrating there. For the first time, we won a award in the Western Cape. That's how much effort we've now put in the Western Cape. But equally, we're trying to make serious inroads in the colored community, because it's a community that it's well represented in the EFF. Their aspirations, their interests, if properly articulated to them. And they are the people who knows the dispossession of land. They know what it means. They've experienced it in the Western Cape. So we are paying a lot of attention in the Western Cape. I said to you, there are 3 provinces. If you break them, the ANC won't do anything. It's Western Cape, KZ, and Gauteng, and that's where the EFF resource is concentrated, and that's where we're going to battle it out with the DA in the Western Cape. We'll battle it out with the ANC and the IFP in KZN. We'll battle it out with the ANC here in Gauteng and everywhere else.
Now, getting into the economy, you've said that you obviously want to double grants. Now, one would ask, how would you make fiscal room for that? We are in an economy that is shrinking. We have, our economic outlook at this point is not desirable. How do you make room for that? You've said that there's money in the state. But
but I just told you, we're doing away with provinces, that money goes there. We're doing away with these ministers, that money goes there. Everywhere else where we're saving, the money must be redirected directly into the pockets of the poor. Why are we obsessed with that? It's because these people, when you give them money directly into their pockets, you can see the impact they have in their families and their grandchildren and children. So when you give Gogos money, you are guaranteed that this money is going to be used for the rightful purpose. Because seated here with you, I'm a beneficiary of SASA, where my grandmother used to get SASA, and that day, that month, we are guaranteed a bag of meal will be bought and be put behind the door. And for that day, she will come back with a chicken. We're going to eat chicken. She will not come back with a bottle of beer. They've never done that. So you give these ones money directly. These monies are going to contribute in the alleviation of poverty. But on the economy, why are we not beneficiating in South Africa? We say when we take over, in less than a year, we'll beneficiate 50% of our minerals in South Africa. So when you take chrome from Skukuni, as it passes those villages until Richards Bay, you must know inside those trucks is jobs. Because where that chrome is going to be processed, that's where jobs are going to be created. You cannot expect to create jobs when you are not beneficiating with so much mineral resources that you have. Then you have the fishing rights that are not given to our people. Both natural and mineral resources our people don't have access to. Then you don't industrialize. Do you know that we don't produce toothpick? We don't produce matchsticks. We don't produce plastic plates or steel plates that we use every day. No one in South Africa has ever said, no, we are only going to eat in the places that are from China. We don't produce the things that we use on daily basis. Why? Why would you not produce the things that you use every day? We grew up in Sishiwu. There used to be factories there. They used to produce textile clothes there in the township. A lot of people used to work there. What is it that the Bantustan can do better than us if we are really better than the Bantustan? There's no big township you can go to anywhere in South Africa and not find those factories. And those factories have been shut down. How do we grow the economy without industrializing? And we need to industrialize based on the commodities produced by those particular areas. Gauteng is what it is because of the discovery of diamond and gold. Kimberley came to be because of diamond. Why is Rustenburg not becoming what Gauteng became? Because there's a discovery of platinum there. Why is Kukuni not industrialized because of the discovery of platinum there? Why is Lephalale not being industrialized because of the discovery of a clean coal? So it is because we lack a visionary leadership that is able to say, hey, if you go and open industries in these economic special zones that we have established, these are the incentives. There could be tax incentives, there could be incentives in water or electricity or anything of that sort, depending on how many people you employ. In that way, you decentralize the economy, you grow it, and you depopulate Gauteng. Because what is happening now here in Gauteng is unsustainable. If we are not going to decentralize this economy and we concentrate it in Gauteng, we are going to become what that main city of Venezuela has become, where walking on foot is much more better than driving. So we need to engage in industrialization, and we need to protect the infant industries of South Africa against the big economies.
Then these special, because what you have in your manifesto, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a very statist ideology. And when you're talking about special economic zones, those programs involve investors, private investors. Now, where exactly does that merge in terms of your outlook of how we get into a space where we create jobs?
When you expropriate land and it is under the state's custodianship, you can say to any foreign direct investment, come and invest here. I give you the land for this particular period of time. There is no one who can refuse to come and invest in a place where there is guarantee of land tenure. You are told, I'm here, you calculate your moves, you like, in 30 years' time I would have made my money. And no one can come here and tell me a nonsensical argument that no, people will not come and put their factories on state-owned land. As we speak now, in all special economic zones where there is private investment, they are on a state-owned land. They don't own that land. So it's not true that if we own the land, they will not come and invest. Capital is the most immoral thing. They are obsessed with maximizing profit and nothing else. That's why they go and buy blood diamond where there is war. They go in there. As long as there is diamond, they can even sponsor the war. And so we're not going to make capitalists as if they are moralist people. They are not moralist people. Capitalists look at, under this policy of the EFF, how can I make profit? And if they can still make profit, they will come irrespective of what the policy is. This iPhone of America is being produced in China. China has got no similar policy as the USA, but the USA realizes if it is to meet its target, it has to now swallow its pride and allow iPhone to go and produce there, and many other US products which Trump tried to stop, but it's not doable, because once you shut out the China, you have shut out the quarter of the world population. But the policy It's not what the USA want. So it's not correct. Make the environment conducive for state investment as the first investor. Because it must not be, an impression must never be created that the state can't invest. We can invest in mining. We can invest in any platform that you want the private sector to invest in. If it becomes costly for the state to do that, then we can consider private investment and direct foreign investment. We're not fighting with anyone. We simply say, you are going to invest in this country and you are going to do it through our own terms.
Your approach in land does suggest that you want to move away from private sector, or at least private sector from the West. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that as you speak now, you're saying that the state, the economy must be dependent on both private and the state?
The state must own strategic means of the economy. Anything strategic must be owned by the state. Why should the harbor be privatized? How are we going to bring things in and out when someone has got a headache, has got a fever, no, today he doesn't want to wake up? That is his harbor. Nothing will come into the country. That's very strategic. We need to own strategic mines of coal, because coal is our line base in terms of the provision of electricity. What type of coal are you talking about, Mr. Malema? Open cast mining, a coal that is easily accessible, a coal that will not require us to put too much capital in order for us to bring out this mineral. The same thing as platinum. Anglo-American is mining platinum directly itself in Mokopane, whereas everywhere else they've outsourced mining. They've given it to other private companies to mine on their behalf. Why are they mining in Mokopane? The platinum in Mokopane is profitable and easily accessible. You don't have to dig deep to find it. It's just here. Those are strategic assets that the state must own and maximize out of it. We must not do like what Botswana did. You own your diamond. You say to DBS, take 50%. We take 50%. They say, no problem. But you don't have control. You are a shareholder with no control. You depend on DBS to tell you how many currents came out of that diamond mine. You don't have a control. So, and then they take out 100, and then they say to you 30. And then they still share with you on that 30, 50-50. So that is actually bluffing. It's not a real ownership by the state. So the EFF speaks about ownership and control. And that will redirect a lot of resources into fiscus. I'm telling you about Botswana, which is being robbed. But with the money they make out of diamonds, they take their children to the best universities in the world. And then they pay them every month for going to school, whereas they are still at school. The last time I checked, I met the Botswana students in Washington, D.C. They were earning each equivalent of 5,000 rands in South Africa as monthly allowance. My mother died, she has never earned that salary. But that is given to kids in Botswana because of their mineral, because of their diamond. Look at what Botswana is doing with its mineral. DBS does that in Botswana. And then it comes back and refuses to do that here in South Africa. What is the difference between Botswana and here? Why are you not applying the same policy you're applying in Botswana, in South Africa, where we make money directly from our minerals, put into fiscus, and rebuild our public health system?
I want to speak about the massive rollout of infrastructure projects that you speak about in the manifesto. We have a huge problem of corruption, as you well know. You only have 5 years of authority in this country. How do you work around the issue of corruption? And it's hard to alleviate.
Well, if you make a mistake of giving us 5 years, you will never want to remove us because of the kind of work we're going to do and the kind of service we're going to give it to you. One thing that we're going to do is to punish corruption. We need to reward the police, reward the prosecution authority, reward the investigating officers, reward the informers on the ground. The machine must be well resourced, well oiled. Then, once you have oiled this machine, no one can go and buy them. They know that if I successfully prosecute a politician, I stand a chance of getting a bonus because it's a high-profile case. If I successfully prosecute or arrest or investigate this case of cash in transit, I'm likely to get bonus because this is the most dangerous case. There must be a reward in fighting crime and corruption. So our infrastructure is going to be led by a corrupt-free government where corruption is punishable. We now are almost a year now in the municipalities where we are. We got removed in eThekwini without a single minute allegation of corruption. In a year, we've been there. Not a single person can say, point the EFF people and say, this one is corrupt, he did this one did. We have never had that from the leadership of the EFF. And that leadership is at the lowest level. They know that this is how we work. That's what we're saying. We don't have money as the party. We get very minimal from the IEC, from Parliament and all of that. We maximize with that small resource. This building we have here, we own it. It's our building. We're not renting it. And with such small amounts of money, if there was corrupt leadership, just to take a portion of that money, will not have achieved all these things that we've achieved as the EFF. So that's what will be characterizing the infrastructure. You are sitting in the infrastructure now, developed by us without being in government. If we can do this in less than 10 years as a small party with no resources, imagine if charged with state resources. But I'm more interested in the BOTs with the Chinese. And I've had discussions with them, and I've made my points very clear to them that these are going to be done through our own dictates. And a lot of Chinese leaders have taken me into confidence that, you know, the reason why we end up owning the harbors and the railway lanes is because your African leaders come and use that as collateral, that if you can't pay, you can take this. Yeah. So it's not China coming to say we want a harbor. It's us giving to China voluntarily. So we're not giving China anything. We send to China, we've got this problem of water infrastructure.
So we voluntarily give away our assets, because I was going
we do that.
I was going there in terms of attaching those assets.
We give them. They don't want that. We must give them BOTs. We say, build this water infrastructure, operate it. After 30 years, transfer it. Had we done that in 1994, the Chinese or whoever had invested in our infrastructure will be going out now and handing it over back to us. The roads, we can go and ask anyone, including Robert Gumede, and say to him, Robert, here is a road, my brother. Come and develop it to be the best in the Eastern Cape, the best problematic road. Do it, Robert. Put a toll gate, but after 30 years, you are handing it over back to us. They can't do that because as long as there is no immediate benefit for them now, no one is going to give you money now and give you a bribe now when you are telling them this thing is going to be handed over to you in 30 years. No, they say, no, I am putting my money now and then I'm going to make my money back and make my profit back, then I will give it back to you. They want a situation where they are taking it out, money from the state, give it to you, build a road, and then come back, take the money from you, and the road is not there. So, why do we have a problem of electricity? When nuclear is there, the Russians are there, and people say, no, they call us flip-floppers. You said you don't want nuclear under Zuma, now you say you want nuclear. We said nuclear deal of Zuma is characterized by corruption. And specifically that deal can't go through because this has got a lot of questions around it. We don't allow that. But it doesn't mean we don't need nuclear. We need nuclear. that will be above board, that will give us reliable electricity in the next 5 to 10 years. We need to service our coal power stations. Make sure we use them optimally and we maintain them properly. You cannot close a power station that gives you 1,000 megawatts for an alternative of green, which can give you 2,000 megawatts. You close 200 megawatts. You close 1,000 for a green that can give you 200 megawatts. And they even say the electricity produced by this green energy is not compatible for our grid. Then we have a big problem. So we are going to use coal. The Chinese have got one of the biggest coal power station. Medupi is stuck. Every day one unit works. It's a call for celebration. Everybody must put everything down and celebrate. Medupi unit 1 is working. Kusile, same story. It has been for far too long. It has proven to be difficult for us. Let's go and ask for help from those who have done it before.
You know, the ANC has been talking, I remember just speaking to the Minister of Energy and Minerals, Gwede Mandashe, just the other day.
Yes.
And he was talking about sabotage. What is your...
There's no sabotage. There's lack of maintenance. You know, if you sit down with Marcelo Gogo, he explains to you that I generate sufficient megawatts to know that when I shut down this one for maintenance, this is going to be off for these days and this will carry me. By the time I exhaust this one, I will be able to open this one and never compromising on the maintenance. So the problem is maintenance, and the maintenance money goes out but doesn't maintain. It's not sabotage, it's corruption. Corruption is at the center of this. Now, I don't understand. We are the only party, by the way, in the whole of South Africa which shut down South Africa for load shedding. No one has ever done that.
I remember.
All of you are just talking about it. We took bullets, rubber bullets, fighting this load shedding. Then they bring a minister of electricity. A guy works exclusively for electricity, which me and you don't have. So what is he working on? He's getting paid. Another added responsibility on the cabinet. He's getting paid for laughing. He's a very good laugher and dancer. He's paid. He gets paid for that. There's nothing. And then when he's bored, he calls a press conference when Saturday, Sunday to say a lot of nothing. They speak today that we will not be on any level beyond level 1. We have managed the situation, we're fine. In the morning, 8 o'clock, level 6. This is an indication of a group of people who don't know what they're doing. They don't know what's going on. They have no idea, none whatsoever. And therefore, we cannot have the leadership of the EFF operating the same way as these old people are operating. Why is Minister of Electricity not having offices in the power stations? When we are told this power station is the one that is problematic, why is there no satellite office there of the minister where we know every Wednesday he goes there to check progress? Today you are here, this is how far we are. Nothing. All they are relying on is a paper given to them. They don't know what is really happening on the ground because they are not job driven, and we need the leadership that is job driven. These bridges here that you use to come to this office are old and are going to collapse. And these bridges you see and the tar roads you see were designed by engineers, and they said the lifespan, you don't have to do anything. You just have to look at the plans and the approvals of those who came before you to say, okay, here are the bridges of Johannesburg. Which one is the lifespan coming to an end? Everything is written there. That this is 50 years, this is 30 years, this is 100 years. They are waiting for it to shake before they make an intervention. And when bridges are falling, you're like, yo, there is a season of bridges falling. There will be a season of bridges falling because they were all built at the same time, almost. So why would they not fall at the same time? Someone is not paying attention. People go into government. They don't ask, bring the plans of this country. What is what? The people of Soweto, where do they get water from? And what is happening there where the water comes from? They have no idea, none whatsoever. They just walk in because for them, it's not power, it's glory. They confuse power and glory. There's a difference between power and glory. They swim in glory, but they have no power. Because if they had power, they would have changed this situation we're subjected to for the better.
Mr. Malema, just two more questions now.
Sure.
Two more questions now. In 2019, in your manifesto, you had projected that you'd grow the economy by, I think it was 66%, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything, forgive me, but I don't think I saw anything in this manifesto in terms of your projections should you come into power post 29th of May. Do you think that the EFF can inspire growth economically in this condition?
All you need is what we're talking about to grow the economy. You have to develop the infrastructure. You have to make the power supply reliable. You have to make water supply reliable. You have to make the safety of the country guaranteed to all those who live in it and those who wish to visit it. Once you do that and you beneficiate and you industrialize and you localize the economy, you are able to attract tractions of investors and you grow the economy, because we don't want the economy that grows like it happened under President Mbeki, but it doesn't trickle down and change the living conditions of our people. You can see the economy is growing, the rich are becoming more richer and the poor are becoming more poorer. We don't want that kind of economy. As it grows, it must be multiplying and creating more economic opportunities for our people.
Now, the last question is around credit ratings. You said that you want your own credit rating. BRICS was actually speaking about its own credit rating. Do you foresee that we'd get to investment grade under the EFF leadership? And how?
Well, if you want to be globally competitive, you are going to have to subject yourself to these rating agencies. And BRICS had spoken about that. We feel very strong that the continent must have that itself. And there will be other rating agencies from progressive countries which will come and look at our policy and look at our infrastructural development, corruption and all of that, money laundering, and be in a position to say, we think this economy, although socialist orientated, but it's a relatively stable economy where there is law and order, corruption is punishable, and there is no money laundering, and investment is guaranteed and put under protection. Because that's all they need. All they look for under the EFF government, they will get it. Don't get us wrong. There's no way we won't work with America or Europe or UK or anything of that sort. But our preferred choice will be the East, will be Russia, and all those sort of things. But if a good proposal is put forward and is to benefit both countries, why not? We are in a country that doesn't exist in isolation. That's why we say we want the continent to be one, because we believe with the unity of the continent, we are able to now earn our seat at the negotiating table. We can be able to say to UN Security Council, you were formed in this fashion before we decolonized ourselves and before we did away with oppression. Now we are independent, and this development must be taken into consideration post the World War II. It can't be that since the formation of this Security Council, there hasn't been a development in Africa. For Africa to earn a permanent seat in the UN and to democratize the UN Security Council, where no single country can veto the decision of the majority. it must be based on the principle of the majority rule, where once the majority have resolved that there must be ceasefire in Palestine, no America can come in and veto that. So it is this kind of global politics and progressive internationalism that allows us to subject ourselves to international, multinational bodies which govern and guide the whole world.
So I take it under the EFF, we will still see continuation of our agreements or treaty with America in terms of AGOA?
No. We'll renegotiate all of that because we are not going to be a dumping site of America. Look at what AGOA has done to our chicken industry as an example, because Americans don't eat chicken feet and wings or something, whatever they don't eat from the chicken, they bring it, instead of throwing it away, they now package it and send it to us. And then those who produce chicken here can no longer sell those things to us because we can get them at an affordable rate because they are rejects. So we have to protect our infant industry against such powerful agreements. We cannot protect an agreement that says South Africa cannot, an agreement between South Africa and Germany, that South Africa cannot manufacture a car, that South Africa will only assemble cars from Germany. There is no question whether we can manufacture a car because we manufactured a fighting jet. That fighting jet was produced by us, and to an extent that the Chinese wanted to copy it. And the world is the world's best fighting jet. If we can do that, it's so obvious that we can produce and manufacture our own car. But our agreements makes it impossible. Okay, South Africa, you want to create jobs with your car manufacturing, this and that, that's fine. We'll produce it here, send it to you, you will assemble it, and through assembling, you will make money. And you'll make jobs, you'll create jobs. We finance ourselves the assembling of cars instead of financing the manufacturing of cars because of those agreements. So we're not going to perpetuate unreasonable trading agreements which are not to the best interest of our country, and including the apartheid debt, by the way. When we come in, we have to talk to the IMF and the World Bank about the apartheid debt. That we hear the debt accumulated by the ANC, we hear that. But how do you expect us to pay for a debt that was accumulated by a system which was declared crime against humanity? We'll take them to International Court of Justice and say, this is the perpetuation of apartheid, which you declared crime against humanity. So anything that came about with apartheid, we cannot pay for it. We cannot pay for a system that oppressed us. That debt is the one that bought guns, firearms that were dumped in KZN, which are still a problem today. They were bought by that debt. Monies borrowed to go and buy weapons to come and kill us. And we, the survivors of such killings, are being told to pay for the money that was coming to kill us. It's unfair. It's unreasonable. It's an issue that when we take over, we shall mobilize the international community to demand the scrapping of the apartheid debt, because it was a debt that was aiming at killing us. And it's inhuman and more painful to be asked to pay for a weapon that was going to kill us.
There you have it. Thank you,
Thank you
so much, Mr. Malema.
Thank you very much.
For your time.